We'll go straight into it. So we've got two amazing guests with us today. And the first on the panel is Johnathan Joseph. Many may know Johnathan Joseph also as DJ Spoony. So Johnathan is the Premier League TV presenter, and he's also an international DJ, as his name pronounces. We're also joined by Charlene Smith. Now, Charlene is the founder of All About Football, and she's also a co-host on the Aftermath show as part of Arsenal Fan TV. Welcome, Johnathan.
Thank you very much, Omari. Thanks for having me, Charlene, Jono.
It's a pleasure, and welcome, Charlene, as well.
Thank you. Hello. Thanks for having me on the panel. Great to be here with you all.
It's a pleasure. And Charlene, if I start off with yourself, if we take it right back to the beginning, I know, look, I've followed you on social media and I've watched the journey and the growth for you. And you really sort of shot into the hemisphere in terms of your celebration as a, if you like, a media icon now with Arsenal Fan TV. But if we start right back at the beginning of that journey, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it all started back in October 2018, where I decided to start my own YouTube channel, which is called All About Football. And it literally started with myself and a camera at a five-a-side women's sports league. And I would literally just go record women playing football, do pre and post-match interviews. As it was just like a little friendly kickabout, it wasn't really gaining that much exposure and much of an audience. So I then moved on to men's Sunday league football, which created a bit more of a buzz, a bit more of an audience. But then during the lockdown period, I just took a bit of time to sort of reflect on where I was at and where I really wanted to head to. And the long-term goal was to sort of work, you know, in the professional game in the Premier League. So I thought, you know, it's time to sort of revamp this all up and just sort of change all the content that I'm putting out and just move from Sunday League and focus my attention on what is happening in the Premier League.
And you spoke about going effectively from Sunday League to the Premier League. And I remember seeing over a 6-month period, lockdown came and it hit everybody in different ways, but it affected everybody across the country and across the world. During that period, your following on social media went from around about 1,500 people to close to 11,000 people. Talk to me about that journey and how you made that possible in the space of about 6 months.
I know, I mean, in the beginning, from October 2018 up until lockdown, it was a very small growth. And during the lockdown period, I thought, you know, I really need to make a bit more of a presence on my Instagram. I want to create an audience and I want to get some growth. So I was just posting what I was getting up to during lockdown on my story, as well as posting motivational speeches. Because it was a difficult time for everyone. I myself suffered with a bit of anxiety in the beginning. And I thought, okay, I can either use this, you know, in two ways, either sit here and sort of whelp in the anxiety or turn this into something positive. And I sort of took myself away from, you know, all the distractions that were sort of happening outside. And I just focused on trying to have a positive mindset. And yeah, some motivational quotes and just my journey of like exercising and keeping a healthy mindset. And when I joined Arsenal Fan TV, that is where my followings just really grew and yeah, just went through the roof really.
So Arsenal Fan TV, it's got a following of 1.25 million. Now, you host the post-match show, the after-match show. How did that all come about for you?
So when I turned my attention from Sunday League to Premier League, my friend Pippa Monique, we decided let's just start creating content together. So we was basically just discussing what was happening during the lockdown with the Premier League, and we was putting shows out on our own channels. So it was basically the same content, but on separate channels. I then attended a photo shoot with Pippa, where she introduced me to Robbie, who is the founder of Arsenal Fan TV. I also met a few other members. They really liked my energy. They liked the work that I was putting out, and they invited me to a watch along. So I attended a few watch alongs, and you know, the audience really took to me. I really enjoyed being there. They loved what I was bringing to the team, and Robbie decided to create a show for myself and Pippa called the Aftermath Show.
Brilliant. You know, before we go into the next question, I'm intrigued to know how is the relationship between Arsenal Fan TV and the actual club? Because we always hear it may be a little bit strained or anything. What is the actual relationship like?
I guess to sum it up, it's two separate entities. So obviously you've got Arsenal and then you've got AFTV. And AFTV is just a platform for fans to just put their points across, really.
So there's no interaction, it's just Arsenal Fan TV and the club?
Yeah, that's correct. Two separate entities.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it has a huge following as well, as I say, a global following. And I guess with that global following comes huge responsibility. I've seen you on things such as Sky Sports News recently, Charlene. How was that on the transfer deadline?
Oh, it was so much fun. I mean, to be part of Sky Sports, which is another massive platform worldwide, and to just be there discussing, to be given that opportunity was just massive. To think, okay, I've literally started from myself and a camera to now being on Sky Sports. I just felt like that was a massive achievement.
Yeah, it really was. On transfer deadline day, you managed to sign Party as well. Happy with the signing?
That was an amazing signing, and I did mention that was a signing that I felt we really needed for the club. So that was a really good day for all Arsenal fans. The thing is as well, I mean, a couple of days before that, we had played Sheffield United. It was the day before, actually, and all Arsenal fans were sort of getting upset, feeling like, oh, we ain't going to make any key signings, Kroenke out. And I was like, do you know what, just be patient. We've still got over 24 hours. Anything can happen. And we got one of the big signings that we wanted.
And what do you think your chances are? Sorry, Michael, you go, Michael.
No, I was going to ask you, where does the love for Arsenal start from? Where did it come from?
So it came from when I was a child, actually. So I'm not actually from a football family, but I remember as a child watching football on TV, and I remember Ian Wright really standing out for me. And I thought, right, this is the team I'm going to support. And as a child, I used to like just having a little kickabout in primary school. But girls didn't really play football in my school. So it was just me and the boys. So I didn't really sort of take it anywhere. But yeah, it just all came from when I was a child, really.
And what do you think Arsenal's chances are this year? If you're to look in a crystal ball, Charlene, what do you think they would be finishing? Champions League football?
Yeah, I feel really confident that we can get a top 4 finish. I see Spoony laughing. Why is he? Spoony, what team do you support?
Going to talk to me about football.
Why not?
You'll find out in a minute all about me and football.
Yeah, I feel confident that we can get a top 4 finish. I mean, our defence has really strengthened up. We've got Partey now, Aubameyang. You know, we got some really good signings. So, top 4
Brilliant.
finish.
No, that's good to hear. And fingers crossed for you as an Arsenal fan. I have to admit allegiances. I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I do wish you well for the season ahead as well.
What do you do for Omari?
I hasten to say Manchester United, but we'll keep that off the record for now. We've had a difficult year. We've had a difficult few years. The lecture series, Charlie. Yeah. Someone's got to. The lecture series, Charlene, it's all about giving tips and advice and sharing excellence as well. For somebody starting out on their journey, could you just give us a tip for somebody at the start of their career and how they could make their way through the media industry?
Yeah, I think first of all, just plan. What is it that you want to do? Have like a long-term goal of where you want to get to. Set yourself small daily targets that are achievable, that are manageable. So do be realistic with the targets that you're setting. Self-belief is really important because, you know, if you are starting out, you can be putting in so much work and not seeing the results that you want to, you know, early on. And I think it's important to really stay patient and just keep working hard, and just always remember that you're only going to get out what you put in. Consistency is very important as well. And I think it's important to sort of look at your surroundings, you know, the type of people that you've got around you. What sort of energy are they bringing to you? You know, are they bringing positive energy that's going to inspire you to really push yourself and work harder to get to where you need to go? Or are they just bringing negative energy, which can be draining and sort of deter you from what it is that you want to do? So I think those are sort of like the main advice and tips that I can give. Also, do your research as well for whatever industry it is that you're sort of trying to get into. That's, yeah, another key tip as well.
That's great advice, thank you. And with the talk about Arsenal and success, it leads me nicely over to DJ Spoony, because I'm informed that you're a Liverpool fan.
That's right, baby.
Now, we talk about success, and Liverpool have had a brilliant season. The season was nearly ended early because of lockdown.
Yeah,
How was it for you during that period?
You know, the thing is, and hi guys, officially, I was always quietly confident that they would complete the season. There's so many moving parts with regards to the Championship, the Football League, how the Football League feeds into the Championship, how the Championship feeds into the Premier League, the European trophies, that it would have been too difficult or more difficult for them to cancel the season as was than to just delay it and finish it. So I was quietly confident that it was going to happen. I also, in another part of my world, worked for the Premier League, so I kind of knew that we weren't getting the information that the season was going to be cancelled. So yeah, I was quietly confident. I know, much to the dismay of Manchester City, Arsenal, Manchester United fans around the country, that really wanted it to be cancelled so they could continue to say, but you've never won the Premier League. So now we have. So what man got to say now? Or women?
Well, look, after 30 years, you deserve a little bit of success. So I can't say I hold it against you.
You know, the joke is as well, is as I'm going to say a Liverpool supporter as well.
Go on, Jono.
Yeah, man, United.
This is coming out now. This is news.
And you know what burnt me, right? And let's go way back, Charlene, to 1989. I still remember when Michael Thomas teethed us with Arsenal. Remember it, Spoons?
I never get. I mean, I love Tomo. Michael Thomas. He's such a gentleman, such a beautiful guy, and you know, I love him. But every time I look at him, there's a little bit of that 19-year-old, 18, 19-year-old in me that's just is cussing. I'm still like, bruv, how you did me like that? I don't know. But and to say I'm bitter, I'm not bitter, but I'm just not quite over it yet. Still, do you know what I mean? 31 years later, still not quite out of my system. But yeah, you know what? It made winning it in 2020 even sweeter. I've got to say that it was a beautiful campaign. The last two campaigns have been nigh on perfect, almost flawless, and it's been good to watch it. You know, we've done it in style. We've done it in the right style. I'm a lover of football, pure football, great football, expansive, attacking football, and we've done it like that. So, you know, fair play to Jurgen Klopp, Michael Edwards, and everyone involved with Liverpool Football Club.
Enjoy your success this season, and it moves us, I guess, to focus on yourself, Johnathan. Would you prefer Johnathan or DJ Spoony?
Either, it doesn't matter.
So, you kept the nation entertained, dancing during lockdown. And for people that don't know your sort of journey, could you tell us a little bit about the journey to where we are today?
Wow. I mean, it's been a long journey because I've been playing records a long time. You know, started out as a kid passionate about music. And I think at that age when I started DJing, I was as passionate about my music as I was my football. But it was just a fantastic hobby. Saw a friend of mine DJing at a local youth club and decided that I wanted to learn how to do that. He came over to my house, taught me how to mix. And that was like a a life-changing moment, really, because I just would practice every moment that I could get. Once I wasn't doing my homework or doing my chores in the house, I would just be playing music. Got onto a pirate radio station in the early 90s. Then I joined London Underground, which is where I met Timmy Magic and Mikey B. We formed a dream team in the mid-90s. Went on to Kiss, went on to Galaxy, did 6 years at Radio 1. Simultaneously with that, whilst we were on air speaking about music, I was obviously speaking about football, then got signed up by 5 Live. So I did 7 years at 5 Live up until 2010. And then in 2013, I joined the Premier League. So I present on their TV channels that go out internationally. So they make up a channel of Premier League action, classic games, one-on-one interviews for the Middle East, for Africa, for the Caribbean, North America, India, the rest of the world, basically, outside of Europe. So I have that side of my life, and then obviously the DJing, which you can see all the stuff in the background, my little room in my house that I did those streams through the first sort of 10, 11 weeks of lockdown, which kept me sane. Like Charlene said, it was really important to have a bit of focus, something to look forward to share some positivity, and that got me through that difficult time, unprecedented times, uncharted waters, and came out of it the other side. And I know a lot of people have suffered and struggled in different ways, being around loved ones, work, money, future, and it all looks bleak. And I don't really like to talk and celebrate what's happened personally for me during this period, but I've been one of the very few lucky ones that have in many ways come out of this period, or going through this period, in a better position than I came into it. And like I said, it's not something that I want to sit and sort of gloat and boast about, because I know that I'm a very, very lucky one and in a very small minority, but it is, I suspect, it kind of hit it home that if you do keep, like Charlene said, a positive mindset and the focus, that you are able to wade yourself through these difficult times. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you. And during lockdown, your house party, DJ Spoony's house party, it reached, you say, in that 10-week period, over 1 million people. And you obviously contributed towards, I'm not sure if our listeners know, but you were raising money for the NHS as part of that. What was the driver for you to create the house party, and also to give back as well, as you mentioned?
It started out that we did a party right at the beginning, and I had Master Steps, Norris the Boss Windross, DJ Pioneer, and MC Onyx Stoney does most of my gigs. And this was before the big announcement, and I'd said, right, just come over and we'll do a live stream, and it went down really well. So people were saying, are you going to do it next week? Are you going to do it next week? The difficulty that I had, or I have, with the age that I am, is that I love so much different music. So then I was like, well, if I'm going to play house and garage, which everyone knows me for, now that I am not sort of bound by the confines of radio or paying public in a nightclub, and I'm in my own Spoony's house, that I can play whatever I want. So I then started streaming on a Saturday and a Sunday as well. And on a Saturday, I would play club classics, Michael Jackson and Luther Vandross and Diana Ross. And then I really went deeper on the Sunday and did a show called The Sunday Brunch. Now, I don't know what it was like in your household on a Sunday morning, but it was normally a mix of coconut cream and peas that you can smell. The Hoover and Zaflora was also in the air, and the music and it was reggae and rare groove. So I started doing a Sunday brunch where I was playing, Bob Marley and Burning Spear and Roy Ayers and Barry White, which is a music that I loved and grew up to. And I mean, that show just grew and grew and grew, and it just gave me, that artistic freedom to just express myself. And I became, I don't know, I just started looking forward to it so much. And I did over 100 hours of broadcasting through those first 10 weeks. Had about 1 million different views collectively. So it was a really successful period, but one that, I'm not going to sit here and say I did it by design and my plan was to do this. It just kind of grew and grew and grew. And I think, you know, the question you asked Charlene about tips for anyone coming into the business, and I'm not sure if you were gonna ask it to me, but I'm gonna save you the trouble. That actually, when I look back at myself, whether it be from the football or the music perspective, it was never ever a driver for me to become famous, even well known. It was just to try and perfect my craft. So things that I was really bothered about, someone who just wanted to be famous most probably wouldn't have been bothered about, but I was just so into the way that the records were made and who made them and who wrote them and who produced them. And the same with football. I mean, not so much now, but I used to have quite an encyclopedic knowledge when I was younger because I was just a bit of a nerd. And then that sort of fueled my interest. When people sort of listen to me, whether it be talking about football or music, they can see that he was passionate about this. So if anyone is listening, which I hope there are more than 4 people that are hearing me now, that, you know, make sure you're in it for the right reasons. Be passionate about your craft, whatever your craft is, that you're going to be prepared to go the extra mile. Because whether you want to be a football agent, whether you want to be a TV presenter, a content maker, whilst you're sort of sleeping and taking a day off, that person you're going to be competing against isn't. And that's how it's going to be out there. So you really have to want to be loving to do it for the right reasons.
Spoons, I'm going to jump in there, Spoons. And my wife was a participator in the Sunday brunch. She absolutely loved the show. And as a family, it was really good because it brought me way back to the 70s. and it was fantastic to know. What I'm intrigued to know, because I see parallels between the music and football. And I think you've got a toe in both, which is great to get a perspective. When I speak to people about metaphors in music, which I see in football, it's a real eye-opener to see how the two are so parallel. So just from your perspective, I'm intrigued to see how you see the two loves of your life, music and football, that you could give some insights into how that could help in performance.
Well, I mean, I just touched on one about the passion for the sport and the sport. And when I say sport in this, I'm going to mean collectively in between the sport of DJing and the sport of playing football. Just going that extra mile, I think training, which I would call practice for my DJing, you know, I've been doing this for professionally over 20 years, generally for closer to 35 years, and I still will practice. I still will come in here with the sole purpose of effectively training, because I know that when I go into a club and people have now paid their money to see and hear me play and people are talking to me, I want to stand behind those decks with the confidence that I can deliver exactly what it is that I want. And I know that I can do that because I've practiced it 20, 30, 40 times at home, in the same way that someone who plays professional football will practice taking penalties or free kicks or working on shape and formation. And even though when I work on a set and I don't turn up into a club and play a set back to back to back exactly how I would practice, but I do know there's going to be a general flow. I do know there's going to be some records that work together better than others, and that confidence it gives me to, when I do turn up at match day or club night day, that I can just totally go into full creative mode and just express myself. Those are very similar to what I see with, and I know a lot of footballers, and you can always tell the ones that have prepared for Saturday from how they train, and that is most probably the closest point between the two.
And growing up, Spoony, I'll call you Spoony. Growing up, you're a Liverpool fan. Who was your idol or role model?
So I started supporting Liverpool in about 1977 when Kenny Dalglish joined us from Celtic, and I don't know why, but that's just what happened. And you know, then times, you know, we had no internet. You just supported who you supported, and I suppose it coincided with Liverpool being on the TV a lot. We're winning the league and winning European Cup, and you know, doing the double back to back. But it was at the time, it's Kenny Dalglish and Graham Souness who were, you know, two of my favourite players at the time. And I truly believe, you know, Graham Souness was really underrated as a footballer. He's a remarkable footballer. But throwing forward to 1987 when John Barnes joined Liverpool from Watford, it was that was a big moment for not just me as a black boy growing up in Hackney. There were thousands of us because we supported Liverpool. We didn't really have any big black players. We would run around the playground saying, Dalglish or Hansen or Rush. But to have John Barnes now wearing the red kit of ours, there was just an affinity. There was just a link. And he wasn't just a black player. He was one of the finest players that have ever played for Liverpool who happened to be black. So we had that as well. So yeah, Barnes, and then, moving forward, and he's younger than me, but I still have Steven Gerrard down as one of my idols, one of my favourites, just because what he stands for on the pitch, how he plays, how he always plays, what wearing the shirt meant to him. I think if you have that passion and that drive, it becomes infectious. And maybe my one regret is that he never got to lift a Premier League trophy. If there's one player that's played for Liverpool in the history of the football club that deserved the league title, was him.
Yeah, it really did. And I guess Jono as well, knowing that period, what do you think the impact for someone like John Barnes was on the game for black players like yourself?
It's a huge impact, because as Spoon says, you move from a space of not seeing visibility in terms of black players achieving great things to seeing John Barnes, whether it's an FA Cup he's lifting or it's an England cap he's getting, and all of a sudden you start to believe that there is possibilities for someone like you to achieve something great in the sport. Prior to that, we all obviously have heard the stories of negativity around the likes of your Brendan Batsers, particularly your Cyril Regis's, and so there lies a fear factor in not only yourself but parents who don't want you to go through that, and so there's a real detraction against you potentially trying to play a sport that parents were very fearful that you too might be abused. So when you see the shots of John Barnes and the success he had, it brings a lot of more freedom in households. It brings a lot more inspiration in you that you're now kicking the ball against the back garden wall or fence. And as Spoon says, I was shouting Barnes or Blissett at the time. And even when I went into the training field as a youngster, 18, 19, I was still doing the same on the professional stage. And some of the players now who have retired, like I have, still come back to me and said, do you remember you always used to say Blissett when you was playing a five-a-side or Barnes? But that's because it was important to me. It was something that helped bring me through, and it was something that even though I made it on the stage, I still held that dear to me. So it's so important that you see role models, you see people from your community succeed. And it's great to hear the stories of Charlene and Spoon's. People are humble people that are from those communities who are now doing great things and inspiring the next generation, but that might be unknowing to them. Will hopefully one day say, do you know something, Charlene, I watched you, or Spoons, I seen you, and this is the importance of role models.
I mean, I just want to go in just quickly on the back of that, talking about the streams. And obviously, with the advent of the internet and social media, it means that we are connected closer to our audience. People, Charlene would have realised that, you go from 1,500 to 11,000, then you start getting messages and DMs, and when you're posting stuff, and people can speak directly to you in a way that they never could before. And I'm not going to lie, but there were some times where some of the messages that I received from people were like so humbling that they at times were quite overwhelming as to the impact that we are having. So I'm here playing music, just chilling and laughing about, and it's having a huge, profound effect on someone's day and giving someone a reason to get up in the morning, or giving someone a reason to look forward to Sunday morning that they may not have had. And again, I don't think that it was at the forefront of John Barnes or Viv Anderson or Cyril Regis or Brendan Batson or Laurie Cunningham's mind what they were doing at that time. But what they really need to understand is that there would have been young black boys up and down the country that would have been, right, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing this. And that's why we just have to continue doing what we're doing. And, you know, it's fantastic hearing Charlene talking about football from a girl's perspective. And I was an alpha male growing up at a time, but I was then blessed with 2 daughters, and I don't know if it was a blessing or a curse, but I've got 2 amazing daughters, and I see how the world, it's a man's world. So I love to see women challenging that status quo, because I want my girls to grow up in a more balanced world, and my daughters need women like Charlene. And that's why, Charlene, you have to keep doing what you're doing, because, you know, for you it might be, you know, you're doing your thing, you want to be a presenter, and there's the likes and there's the follows, but there's going to be a whole set of people that are not actually directly being involved, but you are absolutely influencing.
And if I take it to Charlene, your talk, we spoke about John Barnes as a role model several decades ago now, and we've seen in the recent few months role models such as Raheem Sterling speaking out, and more recently Marcus Rashford as well, challenging around school lunches and things like that, school meals. Role models for yourself, Charlene, getting into the industry, who did you look up to?
You know, I've been looking at other influencers that I've worked with. So Joe Bayer, for example, from Cheeky Sport. I actually worked with him when he started out Cheeky Sport, and I've seen how much he grew, and it's sort of like a similar situation to myself, where I remember him being on around 700 followers, and now he's probably on over like 40,000, and I sort of saw his graft from the beginning all the way to where he has now got to. Also Pippa Monique, she's another big influencer as well, who has worked hard to get to where she's got to. So it's just other people that I sort of look around myself in the similar type of industry that's worked hard and got to where they've got to. Even with AFTV, I mean, from where they started to where they are now, it's just about, you know, consistently working hard, and they are definitions of that.
No, and it's a good point. And with the next generation, as we call them, coming through, Michael, you work very closely with the England under-21s, obviously coaching them, and you've just come back, obviously, from a couple of games. How do you see things going with the next generation of players? And also, I guess, are they playing lots of DJ Spoony's mixes in the changing rooms?
They love spoons, man. The next generation love spoons, man. And you know what? As he said, he doesn't realize the impact that he has, because his music crosses all heap of genres. So I think I'm going to think about the question, what you just mentioned about the next generation. I think social media is a really interesting point with the next generation. Something obviously that when I was playing wasn't at the forefront of what my process is. But when I look at the likes of Rashford and how the movements change government, politics, how I look at other players that use their platform. I look at somebody like Lingard, who's got his own range of clothing. And so it's kind of moving from just being a footballer now to how do you use your platform to maybe, you know, promote business, maybe go into the political field like what Rashford's done. So I think it's a complete different wave, as opposed to you just going out there on a day-to-day basis to play football. And it's interesting how the players will do that, because I know from a manager's perspective, a lot of managers want players just to concentrate on football. But then obviously footballers themselves are seeing new opportunities because of the interaction, because of social media, because of the influence that the game now has over society.
And it's, last week, Michael, we spoke obviously together as well about representation in sport, and we're seeing changing times, and sports organizations are asking searching questions now, trying to think about how representation across all sectors of society are equals, whether that be females in sport, and we've spoken about that with Charlene, or whether it's more black and ethnic minorities. How have you seen those changes, Charlene and Spoons? How have you seen changes in the media world? I guess if we start with you, Jonathan, obviously you've been in the industry for so long now. What changes have you seen in the direction it's going?
I mean, the obvious, from a music perspective, the obvious one is there are more stations where there are more black presenters doing daytime shows, where before you'd have more black DJs doing the specialist shows because whatever the music was would go on the evening. Now, if you turn on, you've got One Extra, you've got Capital Extra. We had Choice FM in London, which were stations, legal stations specifically designed to play, what I would say is black music, just for the want of a better phrase at the moment. We're now, in this time, we are seeing more and more black pundits and black presenters talking about football when I was growing up, it wouldn't happen. And you definitely have a panel of 4. You'd be lucky if you had one black person on that panel, let alone 2, where now you might have a presenter and 2 panelists. And I suspect that, if we can trust black people to play the game, which we have done for 40 years at a top level in this country, why can't we trust them to speak about the game? Everyone will have something to offer. And don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those people that say because they're black given the job. I truly believe that there will be a level of meritocracy in it. However, if you don't give people the opportunity to be equal, they never will be equal. And that's the problem. And people go, oh yeah, but he's not that good and he's not as good as that person. But yeah, you're comparing that person at their first day of work with someone who'd done it every week for 8 years. You need to compare it with that person who'd been there for 8 years, what they were like in their first week at work. Because like I said, if you don't give people the equal opportunity, then we're going to just continue that cycle of not having the right representation.
Yeah, and Charlene as well, if I could expand that to yourself, as Spoony spoken about the representation in the music industry. How have you found it making that transition from social media now also in TV with Sky Sports representation? Have you noticed changes at all, or things that have maybe become easier for you as a female, a black female in the industry?
I think obviously women, in football has sort of been a bit of a challenge as well. So it's nice to see that they are sort of getting more women involved in football, and we are sort of being taken more seriously, whereas before we perhaps wouldn't have been. And the fact that we are black women as well makes a difference. I mean, when we look at Sky Sports, we see people like Jess Cretan, who is a black female that is also working in football. And like Spoony was saying, we're seeing more presenters who are also black that are, having a voice now and being given more opportunities, people like Micah Richards. So I am starting to see a bit of a change. And I think with the whole Black Lives Matter movement as well, I feel like that really made a difference, because it was a movement that was being pushed out by the Premier League, and it was being supported not only by black players, but also players of other races as well. And I feel like that really sent out a strong message.
And Jono as well, if I can bring it to you, and I think we may take the discussion later on back to Black Lives Matter as well, because I think it'll be wrong for us to miss that. But Jono, before I do, I'm not sure if our audience knows, but you also work within the media, Rams TV, and I think it's important that it's recognised also the journey that you've taken to be England under 21 coach as well. So could you talk to us a little bit about your experiences in terms of representation in the media, but also coaching?
I think obviously the media for me is the one who runs TV. It's an interesting one, because by the nature that the club wanted to control its own media output in regards to, and it became quite political, because Sky Sports, if you're in the Championship, you're not allowed to monetize your home games, even though you may be playing at home and not on Sky. So the club itself wanted to move to a place where actually, why can't we control our own narrative? And that was the point where they turned to the ambassador, which at the time is me and still am, and said, look, this is a project that we would like you to really be invested in. And obviously for me, it was great to get that exposure to the media. I'm intrigued from Spoony and Charlene to understand at senior leadership level how that looks in terms of football. Obviously, we know that, you know, you're okay to play the game, maybe coach in the academies, but once you start going up into management, there's less than 4%. Senior leadership is less than 2%. Across all governing bodies, we're not visible. And that's where decisions are really made that affect the game. So it would be interesting to hear from Charlene how that really infiltrates One Extra, Capital FM, and some of the other platforms. The coaching aspect. I mean, I've been retired 10 years now, and I had to go to Guyana in South America to go and get my first real opportunity at a manager's job. And we were successful. We qualified for the Gold Cup for the very first time in the country's history. And that was thank you very much, Spoons. And that was a door opener for me then to go into the under-21s. And even though I'm in the under-21s, I'm on a placement scheme. I'm fully qualified. I've got all the badges that I need. But there's always that problem of accessing the positions because those that are making the decisions don't look like me, don't understand my culture, don't understand my background. And for some, that might be a fear factor because you don't know me well enough, or you don't have people in around your circle that understand us as a community. So I think that's the next challenge football has to really address, is how do we make sure that boardrooms, senior leadership teams are a lot more diverse to open up those recruitment processes and that interview process that will make it a fair 100-meter dash where everybody starts on the same line, one gun blows and nobody can jump the gun, and let's see who the best person is to cross the line in first position. That's all you ask. Not that a black person gets the job. It's just fair.
No, it's a great point. You raise a great question as well for Charlene and Spoony in terms of what does it look like at that senior level with Arsenal Fan TV, and also I guess within the BBC. Is it the same picture we're seeing in all industries?
I think it's very unfortunate that, you know, because of your race, you're sort of segregated. And obviously there's still so much work to be done. And I think as, you know, black individuals, we need to just keep working hard and sort of not see ourselves as an outsider, although it may come across that way, but just to keep believing in what it is that we're doing, keep knocking down doors, keep working and giving them a reason for us to be treated equally, just like everyone else, and be taken for what it is that we are achieving and not what the colour of our skin is.
And
for me, it's such Omari. It's such a nuanced argument with so many different layers. You know, using Jono's analogy of being at the start line, and the gun goes off. You know, I think you have to you go back a step further than that, because some people might have to run to the stadium to get to that start line, and some people would have got carried to the start line. So obviously when that gun goes off, you're going to have some people that are already tired just to get to the start line and have to run with a rucksack on their back in shoes. And that gun might go off, and some people are running in spikes. And it's just ensuring that, like I said, everybody has the same opportunity to get the same results. And if we are going to be judged on first past the line, or who crosses the line the quickest, then we have to make sure that that is a fair barometer that everybody is aspiring to, which it isn't always. You know, someone can't get experience unless they get experience. So when you turn and go, well, you're not experienced enough to get this job, it begs the question, well, how am I going to get the job? Or how am I going to get a job if I never have the experience? And this is what I think has happened up till now. I know in music, in the radio stations, there are more black people in managerial positions, head of music, head of programming, you know, the controller the controller's not her official title, but Lorna Clark, who's one of the main bosses at BBC Pop Music at the moment. Obviously, Les Ferdinand sits on the board, and he's the director of football at Queen's Park Rangers. In football, we need more black people in governance, which has not happened yet. And you know, Les is one of the first. I know Keith Alexander, obviously a legendary manager, and he had a powerful, influential role at Lincoln when he was there. But since then, you can say which black managers have been really influential in the makeup and the running of a club. And you know, we've watched, since Les Ferdinand has been to Queen's Park Rangers, and they've obviously had a transfer ban, and they've come out of that now. And you know, in the summer they managed to sell Eze to Crystal Palace for £20 million. That is massive for Queen's Park Rangers. And you know, the job that Les is doing there, I'm hoping that it inspires someone else to go, all right, maybe I don't go down the coaching role, maybe I'll go football governance. And I know that I can go football governance because Les Ferdinand's done it. And again, going back to what I said earlier and what Charlene said about inspiring people that you can't see and that you're most likely never to meet, this is continuing that conversation.
So it's a deep topic, and probably one that we can't cover in the 10 minutes that are left as well. So I'm just trying to unpick that and think, well, for somebody starting out today as a result of this podcast that we put together, where would you recommend? Is it a case of education? Is it a case of joining groups, speaking to people? How would you sort of give some pointers for somebody trying to make that breakthrough starting today?
I mean, if I may, there's going to be certain situations like Jono. Before Jono can coach at the top level, he needs to go and do a certain amount of formal qualifications. So sometimes your education will come in a formal capacity. I didn't need a formal qualification to become a DJ or a radio presenter. You just had to have, you know, that craft, the love, the passion, and be able to not freeze when you open the mic. So there are two lanes that you can go down. Sometimes you'll need to fuse both, because Jono, before he has his official badges, he will still need to demonstrate the aptitude and the ability to gain the badges. So you can't just not be into football, go and study and then become a coach, because you'll never get a job. So it just depends on the career that you're looking for. You don't need to go to university to study video editing. Some of the top producers that I know have never officially studied music, but they sat there with their computer and the software, and they learned and perfected their craft. And again, you just have to know what the outcome is, depending on what the industry that you are going to follow.
That's a good point. We're into our final 10 minutes. I don't think it would be right for us to finish off without introducing our director, Charlene, who actually has crossed a lot of these boundaries, actually. So Charlene, if I bring you on at this stage, you've worked at the BBC, you've also worked behind the scenes at Derby County as well, and on Rams TV. You've covered all of these spectrums, and you've seen the connection between sport, entertainment, and media. What's your feeling about the industry and getting into it, and your story as well about how you managed that breakthrough?
I think, I mean, everyone's kind of mentioned it already with hard work, because, you know, none of it has come easy. It's, yeah, hard work, patience has been a big one, and just kind of always being ready for when those opportunities come about, because I know myself, sometimes my confidence doesn't, you know, help me out, and with that, I won't put myself forward for certain things, and I'll be like, no, you go, or let everyone else kind of going forward. And I think sometimes you have to just put yourself forward for a lot of these opportunities, and just hope that it works out, and take something from it, and never kind of turn anything down. I mean, that's what I definitely keep telling my daughter day in, day out. You know, you've got a chance to do something, go for it. And I think it's great now with the movement that's happening from, you know, with the re-emergence of Black Lives Matter, and it's just, you know, there's talk, but we do need to see more action now, and that's what I'm very passionate about. And I think for myself, because I have been in the industry for so long, I have had a lot of gatekeepers hold me back on a lot of things. So I guess now, because be it education, be it experience, I'm now starting to create my own platforms or create my own destiny, you know, and I guess doing it that way. So I think that's my advice. It's hard work, and whatever it's you want to do it. But, you know, this generation have got everything at their hands now, you know, the internet and stuff. So I don't know.
Thank you. That's why I brought you in. I wanted to make sure that this is your chance to shine as well. And but you mentioned there about networks, Charlene, and I guess it's open to anybody. Are there any key networks that you could recommend for our listeners that you think that actually this would really benefit them to be part of these groups where they can share practice or to learn? Are there any that you've used or that you could recommend for our listeners today?
I mean, if you're asking myself,
yeah, to the panel, really.
I mean, the TV Collective, they're very good. They post a lot of opportunities that are out. Throughout the lockdown, they did a number of webinars, and you know, and again, it was exposing to kind of people within the industry and careers that you might not think are possible. So I think they're definitely a good one, and they're definitely active on posting on what opportunities are out there, and it's just research, Google, and just keep, and LinkedIn's very powerful as well.
Yeah, thank you. And to the rest of the panel, are there any places that you know of or you could recommend networks for people to get into your industry?
For me, I've just sort of created my own platform, and people have started approaching me. So my advice would be just, you know, if you can create your own platform, depending on what it is that you're doing, and just keep pushing it and just keep believing in it. And, you know, you will start getting approached.
Okay.
I'm too old now and don't want me in their game and in their platform. So I don't know what I do on the outside here. I'm just chilling in my little room playing music and hope people want to listen to it.
We can reach you on the house party every Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, you know what, Omari, I've not done them for a little while. I stopped sort of at the end of May, and then I did a massive event for my birthday, 50 years of Black British excellence, which coincided with my 50th birthday.
Yeah.
So I stopped doing the weekly stream since then. If we go into a serious form of lockdown, then I might do them again, and everyone will be at home. That's what I might do.
Okay.
But let's see. Do you know what I mean?
And Ibiza next year, 2021?
Yeah, man. I missed it this year. It's the first year that I've not gone for sort of 6 years. I've had a weekly residency, you know, between 18 and 20 return trips over the summer, and I didn't go once this year. So I definitely missed it, and connecting with people and being with people. And then, of course, you know, I love playing music. I have missed it. That's why doing the Spoony's House streams have kept me sane as well, do you know?
Yeah, no, good. We're into our last 4 minutes, and I'm going to shortly be with Steve and Charlene telling me to hurry up. So based on that, Nestor McGregor last week, for One Extra, he spoke about, as part of his preparation, you were challenged with summarizing a key point within a sentence, 10 seconds effectively. So if I could go once round, Michael, we did this last week as well. In a sentence, your key message that you'd like to pass on to somebody in your shoes, at the start of their career. I'll give you a few seconds to think about that as your message. Michael, you did this last week, so I'll go straight to you. And if we do it specifically, last week we spoke about it from the footballing terms. So this time we focused around the entertainment industry. Michael, what would your message be for somebody wanting to break into the sport entertainment industry?
I think creativity, and be prepared to embrace failure. Because for you to be creative, there's going to be times that it's not going to go according to plan. But if you can have the strength of character to learn from those failures, you will move along, and hopefully somebody will see the talent that you have. So I'd be prepared to be creative and be prepared to embrace failure.
Great message. Thank you. So who's next? Who's next that Charlene will go to?
All right, yeah, come to me. My message is to believe in yourself, regardless of whatever you may hear around you. Keep working hard, be patient, and just be consistent. You're going to be faced with hurdles. Like Michael said, there's going to be failure, but it's what you take from that. And if you can turn a negative situation into a positive, whether it's leading you into a different direction or if it's something that you can learn from, just see the positive and keep pressing on. Don't ever feel like you're not good enough. If you lose confidence, find a way to, regain that confidence. What is it that helps you regain your confidence? And just keep pressing on, keep pushing at it, because you will see results eventually.
Thank you, Charlene. And with that as well, where can people find you online, and also where can they watch your shows?
So you can find me on Instagram. So my main page is Charlene, spelled for C, Charlene_Smith_presenter. If you want to watch my content around football, then you can find me on my YouTube channel, which is called All About Football TV. If you want to watch my combined work with Pippa Monique, that is another YouTube channel called Two Touch. And if you want to find me on AFTV, then AFTV on YouTube is where you can find the aftermatch show as well as the watch-alongs.
Brilliant. So your fans can find you pretty much anywhere online.
Anywhere, all over Instagram and YouTube.
You can find you somewhere. And the final message then goes over to Johnathan, DJ Spoony. How would you summarize?
I'd say just to study your industry, know your industry inside out, and that will give you the confidence to be able to perform and be creative when you have to.
Thank you. And where can we find you?
Most places at DJ Spoony. It's quite easy. I've tried to uniform all of my tags, whether that be Insta, Facebook, Twitter. I think I'm on LinkedIn at Johnathan Joseph. So yeah, that's it. Failing that, just get hold of Jono and he's got my number.
Thank you. And I'll sort of wrap up. We are bang on time, so we've broken that myth, and we are finishing on time. First of all, thank you to Charlene, to Johnathan, to Michael, Charlene for hosting the show for us once again. It's been a pleasure having you all with us. These shows will be recorded and they are available on the lecture series website as well. I think just to summarize today's session, for me, the biggest message that's come through is that creativity is vital, and to create your own individual identity with that. You are going to face challenges, but it's important that you overcome those challenges with perseverance, and most importantly, never give up and chase your dreams. Thank you to everybody once again. I wish you a brilliant week, and stay safe, of course, in these challenging times, and I look forward to seeing you all soon once again. Bye-bye.
You'll never walk alone.
You'll never walk alone.
Yeah.
All the best. See you soon, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.